Howdy folks, Nathan here in Palm Springs, and this is the brand new Aston Martin Vantage Roadster. And you may recognize it because it's very similar to the brand new coupe that recently came out. So in this video, I'm going to give you a brief walk around. We're going to do a little bit of engine note sound. I have a big drive ahead of me, already drove it quite a bit, and I got to tell you, and I'm not basing this on the fact that I'm at a nice hotel in the middle of Palm Springs, being showered with love, driving something so beautiful. This is one of the finest roadsters I've driven in a very long time. And it's not just the fact that it has 656 horsepower, all right? That helps. But the balance, the ability to forgive, that's the one that I was looking for. The ability to forgive a bad driver is way up there. And at the same time, you could drive it every day like a GT car, or you hit a couple buttons, you put it in from Sport to Sport Plus to track mode, and it turns into an axe murderer. And it is absolutely lunacy on the roads. There's no cowl shake. This thing feels like it was put together out of one piece of metal that just happens to have taken off the top. In addition, they've managed to make one of the fastest folding roofs out there that's automated. Yeah, okay, you can have a Miata and throw it back. This one can open or close at around 30 miles per hour or less in around 6.5 seconds. And I'll show you on video what that means. But for now, why don't we take a tour around the vehicle? We'll talk about what's new, what's improved, what's awesome, and also there are a couple things that are not so awesome. So let's hit it. For those of you who have a keen eye, you'll notice that the front end design of this is much wider. That is a much larger opening up front. It has stacked intercoolers and a rather large radiator in there to be fed, plus that very powerful engine. As such, they opened it up a lot more to allow more air to enter. That's the whole reason why you have a bigger mouth. That's a functional grille. There's nothing on it that is not functional. In fact, a majority of the design on this vehicle is functional. Yes, okay, the aerodynamics plays well with the overall design, which is a very pretty design. But what you're looking at here is a vehicle that's built for good aerodynamics and at the same time, very good grip. The amount of downforce that comes off just from the front end alone is pretty remarkable. Bear in mind, this is an interesting balance for a vehicle. It's not 50-50. It's actually 49 front, 51 rear, which when you have a rear drive vehicle with this much power, yes, transaxle and all that going back there, but that is great because you're able to put that extra weight on those big, fat, juicy Michelins. By the way, 21 inch, these are Michelin Pilot Sport S, and they are, see if I can get it here. Sorry about the shadows, guys. It's very end of the day, and it looks like we are 235, 30 ZR21, 325, 30 ZR21. Massive Brembo brakes, especially up front. Look at those, huge. And they work. They work really well. The overall design leans into this lovely roof here. And the reason why I call it lovely is that they managed to take the top and get it to follow the contours of the car when it's folded. It's not sticking out in some sort of plastic case that makes it bump up or anything like that. The contours follow the car. I think that's really well done. Another thing, there's no extra wing slapped on the back or anything like that. This ducktail here works for downforce, but there's more. One of my favorite angles of the vehicle, the back. Look at that. Big quad exhaust going all the way across here. And this particular car has that yellow trim going throughout, and I really like what they did with this giant diffuser down here, having the yellow trim work throughout. That is all carbon fiber there. All the vents, everything you're seeing here, they're all functional. So it's not like they put anything on here for looks. And that means they didn't need to put a massive wing on the back. And I think that's a bonus. Okay. Another thing, I just learned this today, Aston Martin was actually really early to the game with these flush door mounts. I don't know if they were the first, but they were one of the first to adopt this. It's for aerodynamics, but I know it's kind of a love or hate thing for some of you. Now see this door panel, the stitching, all this stuff up here? Well, if you have the money to afford this vehicle, which has a starting price of around $200,000, but you want to go up from there and make it a little bit more individual to your taste, you can do so by using the Q option. Yep, if you go to Q, it is essentially an outfitter for this car, or an upfitter I should say, and you can get stitching the way you want it. All of these components you can switch around in terms of where you have leather and where you have stitching and all that stuff. Seating, whatever you want basically in terms of the different types of leathers and other stitching on the seating, steering wheel, the whole 9 yards. It's basically to make this car bespoke, and that's how Q works. Okay, we're inside the car now, so we're gonna close this door. Listen for the thunk. It's funky. Ready? Solid. Love it. Okay, first of all, that is a 10.25-inch screen, and so is that. Aston Martin has gone up several levels by making this part of the UX much, much, much better. You now have knobs, proper rollers for volume control, vent control. These buttons, which I'll show you once I start the car, are all relatively well placed. However, in order to use them as you're driving, you really have to drop your hand back, especially if you want to use the roof. This is where the actuator is for the roof, and I will be showing you that. Shall we start it? Foot on the brake, press. Oh. We will do an exhaust note in just a bit. Okay. I think it'll be a lot easier for you guys to see everything if I close the roof. So why don't we do that right now? Okay, so this is where everything really connects, but you have these parts here, and I wanted to point that out before I hit the switch, okay? Now, you guys at home who have a stopwatch, get ready, because here we go. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Boop, boop. That is supposed to be 6.5 seconds. The same goes for it folding back. It is a Z-style folding apparatus as opposed to, N or W or whatever, and it's supposed to fold super quick, and we've been playing with this all day long, and the system works quite well. Not only that, but look, I have a really tall torso. In fact, it's just as tall as Andre's and Roman's, if not even taller. I have stubby legs. And my head is not even touching the roof. Even when I look up, my hat's not touching the roof. So in terms of a vehicle that has a convertible top, I could probably wear a helmet in here and actually be okay, which is really rare for convertibles. Usually I have to keep the top down in order for me not to rub against the roof. So important note. Okay, let's look at what we got here. So here's your general information. Yep, doing some revving. And when you use this switch here, you can rotate it. So this is the starter I just used, but this also is for the drive modes when you rotate it. So I'm going to rotate. There's one click over. See how it says Sport Plus? Let me get that a little bit closer. There we go. Okay, Sport Plus. There's Track. And then going back the other way, there's Sport. That's what I've been driving in most of the day. And there's Individual. That's where you can take bits and pieces of things and put them in there for your liking. And then there's Wet. Have you noticed that there's no normal setting, no comfort setting? That would be Sport. I think that kind of tells you everything you need to know about this car, right? You put it in that mode, Sport, you immediately have a very fast car. You put it in Sport Plus, you have a faster car that has sharper handling. So it's much quicker when you accelerate, and the handling is sharper, and the adjustable suspension is a lot more firm. You go to track and everything is completely different. It is super stiff. It's definitely a pop to pillar to a Viagra, and it is super responsive to the steering. In fact, to the point to where I would say some people might find that even too much. For me personally, Sport Plus was perfect for a majority of the canyons we were carving today. So this is your 10.2 inch screen. Once again, I'm going to use this. See, it says individual there. Sport Plus. There you go, track. So that is really your main settings right here. Okay, oops, sorry. Right, right here. That's what this does. Now, I'm gonna back this up. Sorry, I closed it in so much. Let's talk about all the switchgear here. Temperature settings here, fan settings here. It's taking up a lot of real estate here, but it definitely looks like it's bespoke as opposed to being popped off a Mercedes or something. You have heated seats and cooled seats. You can do both at the same time, which I think opens a small porthole in some corner of the universe. Being that I'm in Palm Springs, having it in the cool mode makes sense. Traction control systems. This is, of course, our favorite button. And for those of you who can see, that is your exhaust. If I press this, then I rev, you hear that. I press it again, throatier. See? Suspension adjustment. You can shut off your start-stop control. That's all on this side. Then on this side, you can shut off the parking warning sensor. It's a parking camera here. This is for lane departure control, which if you kill it all the way, you can actually defeat also your traction control settings as well using this. This is your gear lever, okay? So I'm gonna put my foot on the brake here. Okay, so drive is down, reverse is up. See the camera right there. And then that's park. There's also a manual mode, and that does exactly what it says it's going to do. You push this button, and with the lovely flippers on the steering wheel, which they're made out of carbon fiber. I really wish they were made out of metal. That's just me, but they're at least long. And I'd rather them be steering wheel mounted than steering column mounted. So that way when you steer, they stay in one spot, but different strokes for different folks. They work really well. And this ZF 8-speed transmission clicks off gear changes remarkably fast as any DCT that I've played with recently. Okay. So then on this side, you have temp control and volume control as well. So why are these controls identical? Because remember, this is a British car, so this steering wheel goes on that side of the car for other markets. Makes sense? Yeah, everything's centralized, so that way it can easily be flipped. Vents work beautifully. I think they're beautifully designed. Look at that. And it's the same over there, and of course the same over here. Air conditioning worked really well. 92 degrees outside, and I was just chilling with the windows open, or the windows closed, top closed, air conditioning on. It was very nice in here. It could definitely handle a lot more. And then you have some other controls here. I'm going to open the door in order to get to them, though. There we go. Major lighting controls, basically, and your electric parking brake, which you can sort of manually control as well. And that's pretty much it over there. None of this stuff is really needed. You just leave it in auto and it pretty much does everything you need it to do. And then this is a steering wheel control over here, which also, so if you can see that. So this will actually allow you to adjust the steering up and down. And then you can trigger using this, the heated steering wheel turn signal, which is also for windshield wiper. Okay, so that's basically the tour. I'll close this again. Thunk. Ugh. I'm gonna put up the windows now. So, elephant in the room, not just me, but this. See if you can see that. I might have to get out of the car to show you. Yeah, I'm gonna get out of the car, so let me shut this off. In fact, let me open the top first, and that'll show you what my problem is. So first, ready guys? We're gonna time this. 3, 2, 1, go. Drops the windows, and there goes the top. That is really fast. Once again, that closes up to, I believe it's 31 miles per hour. If you go any faster than that, then it won't do it. But still, that's light traffic, you know, stop and go traffic, definitely something. Okay. I'm sure somebody out there with a stopwatch has actually timed that, but they swear it's around 6.5 seconds. And it's one of the fastest automated tops in the business. Okay, so here's the, really my biggest issue, I think, right out of the bat. Right there, can you see that? Here we go. Okay, that is your seat control. Sorry, the sun is reflecting right on my back. Okay, here we go. This is the seat control, and it's located right where my knee goes. And so there's been a few times where my knee actually hit this and moved the seat a little bit. I mean, I learned to kind of move my knee away from it, but honestly, a better location would be awesome. This is kind of a pain. And the other guy I was riding with, he's even taller than me, and he had a hard time with this as well. Okay, so just that was one issue. The other is some of the locations and some of these switches. In order while you're driving, you have to really drop your arm back. He said something funny. He said it was like being like a T-Rex arms, making them really small so you can reach these lower buttons like the manual control and whatnot. Okay, here is your center armrest. Not a ton of space, but then you have this. Ta-da! And you got a lot more space in there. All right, let me show you the trunk. That's right here. Once again, I apologize for the shadows. This is the end of the day. Okay, trust me guys, this is water. Okay, enough room back here for a regular sized golf bag. One, not two. But I think it's enough space, frankly. I was able to put my bags back here. My driving partner had his bags back here. I had my jacket back here, and there was plenty of extra space. One issue is that you can't open the trunk with any buttons back here or anything like that. You have to either do it from the inside or use a key fob. I'm here with Simon, and Simon works for Aston Martin. Would you mind telling everybody what you do with Aston Martin?
Of course. So my job title is Director for Vehicle Performance. That actually means everything to do with the attributes of the vehicle. So that's everything customer facing, the characteristics of the property, the characteristics of the vehicle, everything from how it steers, rides, handles to what it sounds like.
Okay, now I've already had an opportunity to drive the vehicle, but can you give us an overview of what's changed from the previous Roadster?
Wow, that's quite the question. Pretty much everything, if I'm perfectly honest, Nathan. So in line with Aston Martin's repositioning as a very high performance luxury brand, clearly the engine has had a significant upgrade. We now have 30% more power, 15% more torque. We now have class leading power to weight. But it wasn't just about longitudinal performance. We had to upgrade everything around the car to complement that. So not only does it go in a straight line extremely quickly, but it has a greater lateral capacity. It can really corner. To that end, we've modified pretty much everything. It is a physically wider car. It's 30 millimeters wider. We have a new bespoke tyre from Michelin. We were first to market that with that tyre, the Michelin Pilot Sport S5. We have advanced damper technology, so we work closely with our technology partners, Bilstein on the DTX system. Very good at giving a breadth of capability, so comfort all the way through to highly dynamic. We have very advanced chassis controls. We work with Bosch in terms of an integrated vehicle controller, which means we have fine resolution of braking systems as well as cornering slip control systems. All there to flatter the novice driver and allow the expert driver to take it to the next level.
You know, I was just saying that earlier. When I had a chance to drive this, I'm not the best driver out there, but leaving it in Sport Plus made me feel like I knew exactly what I was doing, and I left it in third gear almost the entire way, and so I was able to hear that engine note. Now, AMG, yes, this is sourced from them. However, you guys tuned it your own unique way.
Yeah, we have quite the unique relationship with AMG. They are our technology partner. We are able to specify any combination of hardware that we want really to suit this platform. So it feels very different to an AMG motor in an AMG product. So for example, we specified what turbos we wanted, what inlet runners we wanted, what camshafts, what compression ratio. Over and above all of that, most importantly for us, we get to tune the car from a calibration point of view. So the electronics of the drivability, both the engine and the transmission, to really make it feel like our own engine.
It's a ZF 8-speed transmission, correct?
That's right, it's the latest iteration of such. From the previous generation, all we pretty much carried over with the gear ratios because we like the spacing, but it's got a much shorter final drive ratio, allows you to speed through those gears even quicker, and the box that you make reference to is much faster than the old one, which is very helpful in terms of speed of shift, but it also has finer resolution in terms of how you can tune what that shift feels like.
And 0 to 60 times in this car are in the low 3-second zone. This is, in supercar territory, but at the same time, it can drive all day long like a GT.
Yeah, it was important to have those two sides to its character.
All right, now the next question, and this is one that I'm a little baffled with, so maybe you can help me with. What is Q?
Right, okay, good question. So Q is our bespoke division. It gives the customer the opportunity to make an already special car even more special, to personalize it. And that can be pretty much on any scale. So it can be any combination of extras, such as the carbon fiber set that you see on this car. It can be taken to the next level with actual bespoke content, so you can get paint to sample exterior finishes, as well as bespoke made to sample interior fabrics, for example. Then the next level you can have all the way up to a one-off bespoke vehicle. It's really that extensive.
So if I wanted to, I could go in there and say, I want these types of fabrics, these types of stitchings,
Yep.
this type of design,
Yep.
this type of exterior color, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Make
Yep.
it my own car that nobody else has.
Absolutely. So the possibilities are literally limitless.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Very welcome.
And there you have it. A quick overview and a little bit of detail behind what I consider to be one of the most rewarding roadsters I've driven in a very long time. Yes, it looks as good as it drives. Thanks for joining me. I'll be seeing you next time.